Jeremy Doku still. Hazard. Puts it across. Lukaku. Oh, it's taken.
The 1st of December 2022 is the day that Belgium dropped out of the World Cup group stages. They played a really disappointing tournament and former heroes like Lukaku failed to deliver. This was without a doubt the end of Belgium's golden generation. But were they ever golden to begin with?
To be a golden generation, you need to put some gold on it. What I mean by gold is winning.
This is a story about a team that was destined for greatness but have nothing to show for it. Belgium was never really known to be an international football superpower. Actually, they have never won a tournament ever. The closest they ever came was the 1980 European Championship, where they lost the final against Germany. So it's safe to say that there were never any high expectations for the Belgian national team, especially in the 2000s. Back then, they failed to qualify for 2 European Championships and 2 World Cups between 2004 and 2010. So it's safe to say they were in a rough spot and something had to change. The Belgian Football Federation hired Michel Sablon as director, and he had a solid plan to turn things around. Old veterans left the team and younger players were given a chance. He also revolutionized the way that the Belgian youth academies worked and emphasized just how important talent development is. This strategy later proved to pay off, since Belgium has produced some of Europe's best players since then. Things really took off when key players of the golden generation began their careers in the Premier League around 2009. One of them was Vincent Kompany, who thrived at City and later became captain. Until 2013, the new team was almost complete, and let me just say there's a reason it's called the Golden Generation. It was a team full of young talents like Lukaku, Hazard, De Bruyne, Kompany and Courtois. But again, almost all of them lacked experience, while the first ever challenge for the Golden Generation was right in front of them. After not qualifying for the last 2 World Cups, the Golden Generation were able to put up a great performance. They swept through the group stages with 3 wins and beat the US in a round of 16. Although they lost in the quarterfinals, you can't really blame them, as it was a close 1-0 loss against second place Argentina. They were able to show the world what they were capable of, and for the first time really, there was talk of a new Golden Generation. After that, it went strictly uphill for them as their rise to an international football superpower began. After a promising World Cup in 2014, they were officially the #1 ranked team in the entire world 1 year later. This was nothing short of a miracle, as they were ranked number 66 just 6 years earlier. So it's safe to say that everything seemed to go perfectly for the Golden Generation, but they still had nothing to show for it. So the 2016 Euros came at the perfect moment for the Belgians, but this time something was different compared to the World Cup. They weren't underdogs anymore, they were actually secret favorites for the tournament. So the pressure was on and everything went as expected in the group stages. The hype for them was big after they won 4-0 against Hungary in the round of 16, but what happened after can't really be explained, so just watch.
The opponent at your shoulder, and that for Wales, proud Wales tonight, is Belgium. In towards Folks! Wales are heading into the semi-final of the European Championship!
Wales won the match in what was probably the most exciting underdog story of the 2010s. This was the first ever major loss for the Golden Generation, and the disappointment was huge, because unlike the World Cup, this time people actually expected them to perform. Belgium's coach was fired 2 weeks after the quarterfinal humiliation, and a new coach was hired, Roberto Martinez. Now his objective was clear. He had to turn this Golden Generation into a winning generation, or as Thierry Henry said,
You are a generation. To be a golden generation, you need to put some gold on it. What I mean by gold is winning. Can you make that generation a golden generation?
So the pressure was once again on for the Belgians going into the 2018 World Cup. Kevin De Bruyne had just won the Premier League with City, and other players like Lukaku and Hazard were also in their prime. And if that wasn't enough pressure, they also once again hit #1 spot on FIFA's world rankings. Nevertheless, they topped their group with 3 wins and faced Japan in the round of 16. Everyone expected them to sweep Japan, but the game wasn't at all one-sided. Japan were actually in the lead until Fellaini equalized in the 74th minute, and everything everything pointed towards overtime. But then this happened.
Japan desperate to cover the spaces. They can't do so for the moment. Lukaku, and here's a winner! Oh, can you believe it?
Belgium actually came back and pulled through in the end, but Belgium couldn't celebrate for too long as they faced Brazil in the quarterfinals. That team had Neymar, prime Gabriel Jesus, Marcelo, Coutinho and so many others. They were the second highest ranked team at the time, so Belgium had a real challenge on their hands. But after an early own goal from Fernandinho, Belgium were able to lead 2-0 at halftime and won the match. Now all of a sudden their chances for the World Cup trophy didn't look that bad, but they still had to defeat France in the semi-finals. Even though Belgium had control over the game, they didn't create many chances and France were able to use their speed and fast counter-attacks. In the end, one goal was all it took to decide the game.
Antoine Griezmann, the ensuing corner, swung in, header on frame, the opening goal! Samuel Umtiti!
Samuel Umtiti scored the winner for France and went on to win the World Cup. If you want to know what happened to Samuel Umtiti's career after the World Cup, go watch this video. Belgium once again fell short of a trophy, but they were able to finish third at the tournament. Things weren't all bad though, since the golden generation still had some time left and key players like De Bruyne, Courtois and Lukaku were still world class. They once again had the chance to prove they were worthy of being the #1 ranked team at the Euros 2021, but in the end it was just more of the same story. They topped the group with 3 wins and faced then champions Portugal in the round of 16. After winning 1-0, they were eliminated by Italy in the quarterfinals. That year, UEFA also hosted the Nations League, but they once again failed in the semi-finals against France. The golden generation was getting older and they still had nothing to show for. Actually, they had not been in a single final yet, so people began to seriously question their title as golden generation and especially the FIFA World Rankings. After all, Belgium were officially still ranked as the #1 team worldwide, even though they had only been in one semi-final since 2014. This backlash was new for the Belgians as they were usually hyped up by everyone, so it's safe to say they had something to prove to the world when the World Cup 2022 in Qatar came along. But let's just say things didn't go according to plan at all.
Lukaku, Carrasco, it's Yannick Carrasco! Lukaku, he's hit the post!
After Lukaku put up what was probably his worst performance ever, Belgium were eliminated in the group stages. And their group wasn't even that difficult as well. It was over for the golden generation, but it came even worse. The team completely fell apart. A few players flew home early separate from the team after there apparently was a fight in the dressing room after the Croatia match. It all started when De Bruyne said that the team was too old to win the World Cup before the tournament even started. Some players were really upset about that and Vertonghen said this after the loss against Morocco. Maybe we're too old. We probably also attack badly because we are too old. That must be it now, surely. After the horrible World Cup campaign, Domenico Tedesco took over as manager, but damage was already done. To make it even worse, Courtois was also frustrated that Lukaku was named captain instead of him, which resulted in just another clash within the team. So it's safe to say that the squad is divided now and the golden years are over for good. But let's come back to the question, did Belgium's golden generation fail? Belgium were ranked #1 in the world for a total of 5 years and they have nothing to show for it. In fact, they didn't even reach a single final during their time. So without a doubt, they definitely didn't fulfill their potential to its fullest. But did they fail? After all, Belgium is a tiny country compared to other European nations and they were able to top them all for a pretty long time. So in a way, they actually succeeded as they took Belgium from absolute rock bottom in the 2000s to being a serious title contender. Unfortunately, the golden generation weren't able to perform in the big games and have to finish their legacy with just one third place finish. Still, calling them a failure would be too harsh in my opinion as they saved Belgian football. Did I miss anything about Belgium's golden generation? Leave your opinion in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, chances are you'll enjoy this one too. I hope you enjoyed this video and please consider subscribing to my channel where I post football stories like this one weekly. Feel free to leave feedbacks in the comments and I'll see you next week.